Welcome to The Lost Signals discusses film and TV. Using the revolutionary Manzur-Amosi-Thurlow scale,
or MONS,
we scrupulously review these art forms with an emphasis on narrative structure. Join us for another entertaining episode.
Hello, and welcome to the Lost Signals review of film and television. I am your host, Rich Perry, and I am joined by Luis Duran.
Good evening.
Jonathan E. Manzer.
White privilege says that I must give this a 10.
Chris Morgan.
Hi.
So tonight we're going to be talking about Spike Lee's family classic, BlacKkKlansman. All jokes aside, it's a very heavy movie. I don't think I've ever walked out of a quieter theater than after Avengers: Infinity War.
Yeah, that's
I agree. Yeah, it was very. Yeah, I can see the relation.
But oh yes, so I guess we usually start off with our funny logline for the film. This is like BlacKkKlansman, subtitle, "Those Duke boys have got themselves in a world of hurt." So, you're going to give us the plot synopsis?
All right, so the narrative of this work is pretty simple. It's kind of it's the first African American police officer in Colorado Springs. He works his way up to basically doing a sting operation on the Ku Klux Klan, and he has to have he's on the phone with them, but he has to send in a fellow detective to pose as him in order to kind of figure out what kind of malfeasance this group is going to cause. But beyond that, it's being a kind of a standard cop thing. It's really a vehicle for Spike Lee to discuss in probably one of the most in-depth things I've seen in a long time, like relations between African Americans and regular America and the police and all of that. It's really well done, but again, it's a vehicle for a theme. But I think overall, though, he handles it very well in being humorous when he needs to, tense when he needs to, and again, using all of these situations to really speak of a lot of the complicated issues that are going down. So I'm leaning on a 3 because of how well done it was and how it balanced everything.
Yeah, I totally agree. What I really liked is that it was as controversial of a film as this is going to probably be, and given the subject matter is, he did find time, as Ian said, for humor and suspense. Like, away from it worked as a buddy cop film in a way. It worked that way. But in terms of a political movie, it was very well balanced. I mean, Patrice, I've said this before to all of you, is I like the fact at the end, she never liked the cops, and he kept saying, like, they're police, not pigs. And then when he finally confessed to her that he was an undercover officer, she's like, "You lied to me." He's like, "I'm trying to change things from the inside." And at the end, he proves her twice over that he can, and still she's like, "I can't let go of the fact that you're a cop." I mean, it was just, it shows how gray everything is. And I'm definitely giving it a 3. I absolutely was captivated by this movie. I think it was the best Spike Lee film thus far. I mean, just in terms of, we'll get to it in style.
Yeah, for me, I have to say that I give it a 3 mainly because there was clear definitions, at least in my mind. Like, I knew there was a beginning, middle, and end, and I knew exactly when to cut off where the beginning was, where the body was, and then where the end clearly started. And finish the movie. Whereas we'll talk about the ending, a little bit later. But it was very, very well executed, and I say the way. I mean, it all goes into style as well. But to me, the way this movie was constructed and the way it was presented, edited, I thought was fabulous. So, without going too much into overlapping in other categories, I have to give it a 3, personally, because it's just this is one of the things it excelled at.
I'm definitely giving this movie a 3, and most of the reason for that is going to be, I'm probably going to talk about that more in style and then the other categories. For like the entire movie, usually when I watch like a movie that has either dealt with the Klan or like racism, I usually walk out furious and wanting to punch the first white face that I walk into.
He has too. Rich.
But there was like such a mix of emotions going throughout this film. Like I laughed, cried, was angry, felt awkward. Like I had a box of Raisinets that were just destroyed by the end of the movie because I just kept twisting it in my hands, like when all of this stuff was going on. Like a couple times, like I had to take a few it's just, and I have to agree with you, Chris. Like I think this is like his best movie that he's made, and I don't think the material could have been handled by a younger Spike Lee.
No.
I agree with that.
I agree.
Like with the amount of nuance that he put into this to like to balance all these themes was just perfect. I guess it's like 3s all around, right?
I'd say 3s all around.
Probably gonna be 10s all around, I imagine.
We'll see.
Spoiler alert.
We'll see.
So that brings us on to themes.
So I'm on themes. So this is gonna be a little generic. I feel like I usually, if you watch long enough, I usually say that every time I get themes. But for me, looking back on this, it seems almost parody or satirical when it comes to the racism, and I'll explain how. As the movie opens, it's a shot from Gone with the Wind, the long like back crane shot, but then we go right into a propaganda of how white America is supposed to be great, but we see a fumbling. I don't remember his name, but Alec Baldwin's character, like a fumbling Alec Baldwin trying to get everything right.
It's like a racist Jack Donaghy.
Yeah. I was gonna say like a racist. I think I said to you, and it was like the grandfather Jack Donaghy.
His name was Dr. Beauregard.
Dr. Beauregard.
Beauregard. I know that because Beauregard's whatever. I'm not going there.
You would. No, I'm just kidding. No, but that's the thing. It seemed like there was a filter. So every time there was there was racism and everything, every time there was racism on screen, it seemed like it wasn't. I don't want to say watered down, but I feel like there was a filter to it, and I feel like it was a disarming mechanism. Whereas when we got to the end of the movie, it was a freight train just coming right at you. And there was occasions, obviously, in the movie where you wanted to ring up a Raisinette box. You really I gritted my teeth. Like I was angry. I was sad. I was all these emotions were stirred up in me. But on occasion, there was a lot of fumbling. There was a lot of it was perceived racism. It's just the Ku Klux Klan, they wanted to do something, but they were non-violent. If that's a thing, I don't know if that's a thing, but it's like Colorado. So it was playing on the it didn't seem like it was there was leading to an action. But besides that, I would say, obviously power is one of the biggest things. The reoccurrence of power, the dynamic between David Duke and Halle Belafonte's character. God, I really wish I didn't say Halle Belafonte. I wish we could have looked it up beforehand. But as he's talking about
Jerome Turner, I think his name is
Jerome Turner.
Yeah.
As we're talking about, the historical lynching. And, they have literally pictures. We see Patrice going to the library, looking up these pictures, printing them out, making sure that there's a medium so people can see. People that are coming together in a house can see that. Whereas, David Duke is trying to start his own gathering. Like there's a power grab of not just race, but also trying to find identity. And I'm kind of rambling. I don't know if you guys want to just jump in. You can jump.
No, go ahead. Ian.
So it's really a very effective tactic to fight against hatred is to mock it. And they laugh at the Ku Klux Klan, and especially David Duke. He is played as the fool in this. But for a movie that is about discussing black and white, it really does all the shades of gray in between.
Absolutely.
Now, granted, Spike Lee is more sympathetic towards African American plight than he is to the plight of, or the imagined plight of, like white America. But he does show that you have the more militant African Americans. You have but our protagonist is about working through the system to fix things, and the conflict that between those two groups, and even like I guess the alt-right, as you would call them nowadays.
No, don't be politically correct.
What? Whatever. Like for instance, you had Walter, who, aside from being racist, came across as like a decent guy. Like if you were a white person, the thing is, like it's you had your psychopaths on the kind of the alt-right there,
like
but you
Felix.
also had the more
Yeah.
And like the complete buffoons and idiots on it.
Yeah.
But you also had people who had a more like reasonable, like it's weird to say that like it's reasonable, but it's like you kind of it's given a fairer portrayal, I think, and to show
Instead
that
of just turning them into outright all-in-all villains.
yeah, and that's
Yeah.
absolutely the correct way. And the fact that he handles all that, and the cops as well. You see really asshole cops, but you also see cops who are generally trying to do the right thing, and you see an interaction between all of these groups. Again, I don't think, as you mentioned, Spike Lee, a younger Spike Lee, could have handled this as deftly as he did in this, and I think so much nuance going on here. Enough for me, though.
You guys brought up something before, and I really like the fact that there's one scene where they start in the Klan, and it's like white power, and then they juxtapose it with Patricia's group, and they're saying black power, and it's white power.
Damn it,
black
I was going to
power,
talk about
black
that in
power.
style.
Oh shit! Did I was.
I mean, either way,
It's all right.
I mean, it's.
All right, we can
they
go back to
They
it.
go hand in hand, right?
But
Yeah.
I mean, it just goes to the themes where he shows militants, overlaps them, and then militants. I mean, it's just
And, like, the
Well, it's like
way-
it's actually
yeah.
students and militants, which is the
but
kind of
the way that he did it too, and it's almost, and I'm going to go ahead and say that he intentionally planned this
yeah, of course.
as the because like you have like those assholes online that are just like, well, what's the difference between black power and white power? And he makes a decision to show the whole Klan ceremony, to like have them watching the movie or to have them watching Birth of a Nation, and then to go in to the story of Jesse Washington and his lynching, and to like have them rooting for like such obvious racism and hatred, and then launching into white power, and then switching back to the students who are learning about this moment in history where they like to see these people at their fucking most terrifying and worst, and to like yell out black power just to give themselves strength to get up and move on and try to fight this. And I thought that was beautiful.
yeah.
Yeah, it was very powerful.
It's again, as I mean, nuanced and powerful, and I think it's one of the most movie that's handled it one of the best I've seen. So
Yeah.
I'm giving it a very strong one.
Yeah, I agree.
So see, before we move on, also one thing that I want to mention is that there's a third group, and it's the police force. Seeing how like Ron, Flip, and the other characters have to they have to maintain their professionalism, or like literally the blue wall, like the blue shield rather.
Yeah.
Or like they say like, no, like, well, you're a pig, right? You're a cop. Like that has its own connotations. That has its own like stereotypes. That has its own like baggage without without really saying anything. All you have to say is I'm a cop, and people already have preconceived notions of you. And they literally say like, why? Ron asks why the one racist cop hasn't been racist. Like, well, we're kind of a family. Like, if you want to like go get him right now, like we can go, but that's kind of it, right? Like that's your career. Like we're all here together. Like we're all trying to look out for each other's back.
But once it becomes part of the family, they do by taking out the
Yeah.
problem within that family.
Exactly, yeah.
If only they did that more often in reality. But actually, the one last thing I wanted to say, which I forgot to, which is what I was stumbling a little bit before, actually the ending really struck the fact that for whatever good was done in this film, all of the problems still exist today.
Mm-hmm.
It's existed since Civil War, and the problems still are there today. And it's
Especially whether or not that conversation actually happened in real life, I don't know. I'm going to have to search out the Star Wars memoir and read it. But that conversation he has with the superior officer about them like trying to push for, he's like, eventually the president's going to get in there, it's going to push these views.
Oh,
He's
yeah.
just like, oh, whatever. And he's like, yeah, you were so naive for not believing that this is going to happen. And it was like, I was honestly expecting him to turn to the camera and just...
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I give it a 1. I mean, it was very, very powerful for me.
One's all around.
Yeah.
So it brings it to me with antagonist.
One thing I want to add to the themes, what I thought was really interesting was the police chief helped in the sting operation to remove the one cop who was a racist, who said, I'm above the law. But I also like the fact that at the end, he tells everybody, he's like, hey, you guys did a great job, budget cuts, we have to destroy all evidence of this. So in other words, it's like you did the right thing, but we can't catalog it. We have to do the right thing under the radar. We can't let America know that this is, and I figured that needed to go into themes because that was really chilling. That was really telling. And that's it. Go on.
Yeah, I was gonna say, that was very open ended. Like it leaves a lot to the imagination of what the motives were, because
it also parallels the FBI agent going,
exactly.
hey, like I told you the information, but
yeah. Which brings us to antagonist, which I think I'm going to go broad and say racism.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we could just say the Klan, but...
Could say the Klan.
But systemized racism is pretty much the number one enemy throughout this entire film. It was in... I mean, the Klan just gave it a face. I mean, you had it in the police department, mostly.
Nazis. They talked about the Nazis.
Yeah, the Nazis as well.
Yeah.
Which is really funny, and this was one thing that I thought was interesting, especially coming from Adam Driver's character. The one guy whose name I'm blocking was just like, oh, the Holocaust is a lie. And Adam Driver... Felix. And Adam Driver's like, no, it wasn't a lie. That was a great thing that did. Can you imagine? Blah, blah, blah. And it was just an amazing moment because in his heart, because he himself was starting to turn, realize like not being raised a Jew and all that stuff, and realize he's starting to get an appreciation for the culture that he never was exposed to. And now all of a sudden he had to spew this to continue to play a role. That was an amazing scene.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, I didn't know if that was style or...
That was one of those things that I was not expecting. Like, I've never heard that argument before. Or, like, not only like Holocaust deniers, but people that like are very anti-Semitic, and like that's it blew me away. I mean, this is going to go into dialogue, obviously, but it was one of those things that it left me completely shocked.
But with how far that he went with his
well, just his argument and how far they went with it, and how the conversation was, just developing right on screen. Like I hadn't heard those kinds of,
especially the look on Felix's face as if he like had never thought of it like that.
Exactly. Yeah.
Now, if you're looking at this as a purely cop angle here, the main villain is Felix, Connie, the weird guy who stole the C4, and the dumb guy.
Ivanhoe,
sure. And they would be the traditional bad guys, but you're absolutely right that it is
true. It's like what we were talking about. There's different levels of villain within this organization. Like you have like the David Duke, who's like affably evil. Like him and Walter. I think you can like him and Walter are both affably evil. They're they see themselves as the sane ones that are trying to lead this organization and like keep it from devolving into just the pool of hatred and unnecessary violence that it started off as. And then you have the followers, Connie and Ivanhoe, who just like want a place to belong and will pretty much do whatever's going to bring them closer into the group. And then you have Felix, who's like the one that just believes in this cause to the detriment of everyone.
Yeah.
And just moves with blind hatred. And of course, I was thinking about this today, actually. Watching this movie and like watching the Klan operate and like how they were doing everything, like they had mentioned in like one of the when they were going over the first sting that they did, they're like, these guys seem way too incompetent to ever cohesive into a unit to actually do some damage. And like, eventually they found out that Felix was like going off and branching on his own. But like the two guys that they met during the target practice that work for NATO or NORAD. That work for NORAD, and like were just quiet the whole time. Just quiet and whispering to each other. They were fucking terrifying.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And like,
Yeah.
I know they mentioned their names, but like they were fake. So like we have no idea. Like, and like those are the most terrifying villains to me.
Yep.
Those are high level government officials.
High security clearance.
Yeah. High security clearance that have an agenda and have access to all this shit.
Mm-hmm.
And are just.
And they have all of the dumb soldiers.
Yeah, exactly. They have the soldiers. They're trying to build an army.
And they never said what they did with them or if they did anything to them.
No.
Yep.
They're just like, hey, these guys are FBI agents, or no, these guys are NORAD agents, and
You did the service to your country.
yeah, the
That's all
service
I
of your
did. Pat
country.
on the back.
Here you go. I'm done.
I was never here.
Yeah.
The other thing that was interesting to me, and I think Ian and I were discussing this before, the guy with the glasses, who was the president of the
Chapter leader. Yeah, Walter.
Yeah, Walter. And the guy, the fat drunk guy,
Ivanhoe.
was that Ivanhoe? The funny thing is, they were. I'm probably repeating ourselves, but you see those guys, and on the surface, you're like, these are normal guys. They seem like funny guys that you'd like hang out with.
Your racist uncle.
You're racist, but it's just. But again, it goes to the shades that he shows that nobody's wearing a black hat twirling his mustache. Well, there are a couple of them, but there's the layers of everything, and it's really hard to stay on one thing without blurring with the rest of it.
Mm.
And I'm sorry if I'm going off. I think racism was a really good antagonist because breaking it down, we start devolving into everything else.
Well, see, that's weird that you say that because I think that's absolutely not what Spike Lee is trying to do. He's not trying to paint it as a simple, like, broad brush, this is the villain.
Right.
No.
And by saying, racism, like, it handles everything because I don't have to think about how it's a lot more complicated than that.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
And it's. And I was trying to stay away from like going too deep into that because, like you said, it's all shades of gray. It's just like in Do the Right Thing,
Yeah.
where you have two lightning rods of activity that cause the problems that start. Everybody else is kind of just like pulled in so many different directions, and like just pretty much clings to an island that they can, whatever piece of land they can, just to stay afloat.
Mm.
And they end up on opposing sides. And like he shows that each time he goes back and forth between the Klan trying to find their place in America that's changing, that they don't like, and the students trying to find their place in America that should change for the better but can't. It's fighting against it.
Well, I mean, to go on to the thing about racism, I mean, besides the Ku Klux Klan, there's also cultural or like internal racism, or like you see between Patrice and Ron,
Yeah.
and even between Ron and Flip. Where it's like, hey, like, why aren't you? Even Ron says to Flip, "Is like, why aren't you affected by this?"
He's like, what do you say? He's like, you have a stake in this fight too.
Exactly. And
Wait,
he's-
wouldn't instead of racism, should we say prejudice? Because that would go down to prejudice, like, you know.
Well, no, it's
within-
I'd say there's like also there's a self hatred. Like Ron says at one point, he's like, no, like that's like what light skinned black men say. Like they try to pass as white, so they don't. But then again, they're also being like,
Yeah, it's not
There's
code,
also,
it's
like,
not code switch. It's a double consciousness.
Exactly. Yeah. So yeah, that. But also, like I was saying to Rich at the bar, or like, you know, when we saw this movie as well, it's just like as a Hispanic, I'm viewed as white, but then I hear people say things about Hispanics with them not realizing that, you know, I'm part of that culture.
It's like Drew was saying that the other day too. Like when he like mentioned offhand that he was Jewish.
Yeah.
And people don't know. He's like, there's no look for Jewish. Like,
Exactly. Yeah. It's like, dude, it's just one of those things that, you know. But but then even within like the Jewish culture and Hispanic culture is like, well, you're not Hispanic enough, or you're not Jewish enough, you're not black enough.
Exactly.
There's also another, like, there's an internal struggle of how there's expectations
like
that people aren't meeting.
Yeah, like,
but people are setting for whatever reason.
Yeah, because like not only does Ron have to fight against what he's facing in the police station and like this other class member, he has to fight within the students too. Like Patrice tries to call him out at every turn. It's like, you're not for the fight, you're not for the struggle because you're working with them. It's like, no, I'm trying to change things by working with them. It's like, it can't happen. You need to choose us or them.
And he probably has the thinnest skin of like, well, that's poor choice of words. He's probably like he has like the shortest temper.
Yes.
When it comes to, because he seems like he hasn't been exposed to it. Like in the beginning of the movie, like I don't even know who the characters was. Like it was the chief. It was the chief, and then the other guy. We don't.
Yeah.
He wasn't even like, was he an officer? Was he not an officer?
I think he was like an administrative mayoral aide or something like that.
I was gonna say, like, he straight up asked him. He's like, "What are you gonna do when you get called the N-word?" Like the chief like tiptoes around the issue, and he's just like, no, he just straight up asked him, like, "What are you gonna do?"
He's like, "Am I going to?" He's like, "Come on, man."
He's like, "You're in Colorado. You're the Jackie Robinson. You're gonna be the Jackie Robinson of this police department. You think you're not gonna be called this? Like, come on!" And then he loses his cool.
Yeah.
Like, this is one of those things that he literally loses his cool, like on different occasions, and he gets called out by, like, you know, by Patrice. He gets called out by like the Patrice's colleagues and students and everything. Students of all things. He went to college. He gets called out by students.
Yeah, and the guy the chief is just like, when he was dealing with that cop, he went off on him. He's like, if you can't deal with him, how are you going to deal with David Duke?
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, you can't deal with Duke.
And
then when he goes to the rally, he gets worked. He actually feels empowered because he's never witnessed anything. I think that was there for that point. He never.
Yeah.
He was just like, yeah, all power to all people. And I remember Adam Driver listened to that. Well, Adam Driver, and I think his partner too.
Yeah.
They listened to that again. He's like, yeah, all power to all people. We heard him say it.
Yes, sir. I'm going to go into that more in style, which is after Protagonist, which is next. But one's all around?
Yeah.
One, yeah. I'd say, yeah, one, yeah. I'll give it one.
No, I don't believe that racism's a problem.
Pretty sure it was solved back in 2008.
Yeah, we solved that. It's old news. Fake news. So Chris, after you're done dying.
Jesus Christ.
Can we get your opinion on Protagonist?
I just blanked out on everything. Ron.
Yeah, Ron Stallworth.
Ron. We've been throwing around so many names. I knew it wasn't Patrice. He's our protagonist, and he's amazing. I wish I could remember his name. I know he's... I'm blocking his dad's name too. Denzel Washington's son, yeah. And and he was phenomenal in his as a protagonist. I know we've been talking a lot about him, so it's kind of hard to really reiterate anything we haven't really talked about.
John David Washington.
Washington. But
great actor.
I am going to go though so far as say Adam Driver is or I guess the white Ron in this case.
Yeah, Stallworth brothers.
Yeah,
Yeah, I guess there's a case to be made for him being the main character as well.
Ooh.
Because he couldn't have done this role with...
He came a little late, but I think,
so basically two people playing the same character.
Yeah, and it becomes his journey too.
Like that's a full arc.
Yeah,
he does.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, shit. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I'll count them both. Because, they were in character in the thing, both playing Ron, but... They both had basically very similar arcs. Yeah, so I'm down with both of them. You get a one from me. I don't really know what else to say about the two of them. Performances are wonderful. The actors are wonderful. The characters, it's just phenomenal. I'm speechless.
Here's what I'll say. That might. Now that you brought Adam Driver, though, I can't. That kind of limits to, I guess, my argument. The only thing about Ron that kind of bothered me is that there was. It almost seemed on occasion there was lack of agency. It almost seemed like there was people influencing more than he was trying to influence. Like he wanted to. He was pushing for a position to make a difference, but there was instances where he was completely complacent. Like instead of going to the rally, he was watching the Ku Klux Klan ceremony, and he was there like watching. But then maybe that was also a powerful thing as well. Like instead of being with the students, instead of being with with the students and was Jesse Washington
Jerome Turner.
Jerome Turner. Jeez. Yeah. Jerome Turner. Like that. I don't know. I don't know if you guys felt the same way at all, but there was occasions where I felt like he didn't know what to do, but the movie almost seemed like trying to come off that he did.
Well, there are two moments of agency I can speak of. One is him deciding to call up the Ku Klux Klan to begin with, which is the impetus for the entire plot of the movie. And then the second time is throwing the plant through the window to save Adam Driver's life. He could have sat in the car and waited to see what would happen. He chose to draw attention to himself in order to, and then brought them closer together. So those are two moments that I will offer there.
Also, at least as far as the graduation ceremony went, he kind of had to be there. Like that was his detail. And plus he was like, he had a feeling that something was up, so he was just keeping an eye on, and it ended up working out that he was able to see Connie leave when he did.
And they weren't particularly subtle about their...
No,
they were not.
By any means. I love, bit of dark comedy, her trying to fit that C4 bomb into the mailbox.
We've all been there though, right?
Yeah, right. That was a rookie mistake.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, you're right. Okay. All right.
I'm going to give the two of them great one. I think they did a great job. So
I'll say, we haven't talked much about Adam Driver. One of my favorite scenes is when they finally get the Ku Klux Klan membership card, and Ron gives it to Flip, and he just goes into how he wasn't part of his. Judaism was part of his culture, like his upbringing or anything like that. Like it was kind of taking a back seat in his mind. But then all of this, the case, the undercover work, being exposed to just so much hatred and vile rhetoric, he just felt more connected to it. And he's like, I don't want this. Like I don't want anything. I don't want anything about that.
Okay, so I like about his performance is. Again, I mentioned this earlier, but it reminds me of Keanu Reeves, except being able to show a lot more emotion with his eyes and facial expressions. So he has that stoic nature to him. But just similar to that part is when he's being inducted into the Ku Klux Klan, and you can tell he doesn't want to be there. He's wearing the hood. All you can see are his eyes, and you just see it. Like he would give anything to be anywhere else, and but still has to go through it for the job.
As an audience member watching this, I'm sitting there thinking I'd want to be anywhere else. Like right now, I want to be anywhere else than watching this right now. So I understand. I mean, like when you putting yourself in the world. I mean, it was a really good. It was so powerful because you were in Adam Driver's shoes.
Yes.
And you're like, I don't want to be here. Can we move to the next scene, please?
Yeah. I agree, man. They both killed it.
Maybe, man. Let me get a one. There's one.
One. Yeah.
They two are one.
All right, that moves us on to supporting.
Okay, Topher Grace won. He did a phenomenal job. Although it, for some reason, reminds me of Tom Cruise's portrayal in Tropic Thunder, of just this guy who I didn't really respect, no offense to him, but beforehand, kind of took the piss out of himself and won my respect. But beyond him, Patrice, she is one heck of a sexy dame there. The glasses, the afro, it all worked. So I think overall, like, yeah, you have the whole like police. Oh, how can I forget Steve Buscemi's brother?
Oh yeah,
great. He has the same weird charm that I guess the Buscemi brothers all should have. So that's my opinion. I'll give it to the rest of you.
all right, I'll go.
Yeah.
Yeah, like also I guess we kind of talked about them in villains, but the other clan members, they did a good job of making me hate them, so I'll give them that. The other students weren't exactly fleshed out, but I liked the atmosphere that they brought, especially in the scene with Kwame Ture.
I was gonna say Kwame Ture, man.
Oh, yeah.
He's like powerful speech. I love how
Him and Jerome Turner, like my god, like I was on the edge of my seat both times they were up there, and it was almost like being back in church.
And it was I think that's exactly what they were going for too. It was very powerful, very moving. You know, everybody's captivated, and it's just, especially with the Kwame. Well, I won't go into this too much actually with style, but like the Kwame scene, like I was so glad it was just the tip of the iceberg. Like, I'm very glad we saw another scene just like that.
Yeah,
and then even more powerful. And I don't know if there's any, like, I hated Connie. Connie.
Connie.
Ugh.
I felt. I don't want to say I felt bad for her, but like I pitied her.
I'm not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pity's a good word.
Pity's a good word. It's condescending.
I pitied her in her first scene. I actually felt bad for her there.
Yeah.
And then she just went full-fledged idiot.
Yeah, I was secretly happy that she got her husband killed. She's going to have to live with that for the rest of her life in prison. I'm not. I told you. I'm sorry. I'm not. I am not going to. I'm trying very hard not to go on my soapbox here. So I don't. So yes, I don't feel bad for her. I mean, I agree with you, Ian. I kind of pitied her at the beginning because it looked like she had a bit of a conscience, but apparently she doesn't. And as far as
she was making dip for everyone. I mean, what's not to like?
Yeah, but it was really funny. She brought the cheese dip, and everybody's smoking. I'm like, oh, someone's going to ash in that cheese dip.
Oh, I really wish I would have happened.
Thanks, honey. You know, one day you guys are going to need me.
But as supporting characters go, and I know we brought him up, Harry Belafonte. I knew he was in the movie, and then I forgot he was in the movie. And the second they showed the camera, I started to cry.
I know.
I mean, he's magic in everything he does. I've seen him in bad films where he's still magic, and it's just, he's just fantastic. And 91 years old,
killing it.
Absolutely incredible, man.
Absolutely,
just absolutely incredible.
Nailed it.
Yeah,
I would not be surprised if that was all one take.
Yeah, no.
I wouldn't either. And apparently.
He would purposely, if I respectfully, I was purposely screwed up just to hear it again.
Yeah.
And, we weren't filming it, sorry.
Actually, they weren't even filming. That was just him telling a story.
Yeah. No, that was, yeah. So, yeah, I have to give it a 1. I mean, a lot of it's a very rich, there's a lot of rich moments with all the, like, different characters and everything. Even when Ron goes to Patrice, like, where when the Ku Klux Klan do the flyers and everything, they're just like, "We're ready to fight. Like, what are you doing? Like, you want to be passive again? Like, no, you already like, no, we're ready to fight." And he walks away and just like, "What is he talking about?
Yeah,
like, what is he talking about?" Like, I love that. Just like little things about just giving characters, like, I don't know, Just
This one's all around.
yeah. I'd say 1,
Yeah.
yeah, for sure.
And the brings us Lou with dialogue.
So dialogue, oh man. So the first thing I thought about when I was bestowed dialogue is the OJ,
Oh
The-
my
the
god,
OJ,
I forgot
the-
about that.
and that was phenomenal. They were talking about just like all their heroes and everything like that, and just like how I forgot what the OJ thing kind of clouds everything. It's like it overshadows everything.
They were talking about like
Their heroes,
the black heroes.
the black heroes. So like I think they don't mention Jagger. They mentioned a few, but they're like OJ, Orenthal, James Simpson.
Did you know that? Yeah,
I knew about that. And
It's
like,
like, yes, we in the black community appreciate your
yeah.
your love and praise.
Oh yeah. That's when he's trying to teach Flip to talk like Ron.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's just which is another hilarious thing that just goes right into dialogue. But also like we were talking about before, just the whole thing about eventually the modus operandi is to get somebody in the White House that's just like them. The subtle racism and everything, because they can't be saying white power anymore. They just have to be saying the certain kind of power. They have to be just like appeasing the masses that that want to have a voice but they don't have it anymore. So things like that, like it was very moving. Like it didn't seem like it was pandering. It didn't seem like it was shoehorned into the film. It didn't seem like it was I don't know, trying to like politicize something right off the bat. Like it was nuanced, as we've been saying.
Well, if I remember correctly, though, it's interesting because they did do the like "Make America Great Again" kind of reference,
Yeah.
but they also did Super Predators reference.
What?
They would have what?
The Super Predators reference, I believe, in one part of that. If I early on, I'm pretty sure I could be now mistaking it with something else, but nonetheless, I believe it did happen there. But the thing is, they did a lot of with going into like how the coded language happens, using taxation, and all of those different aspects that you can. So you don't have to go and say white power. You can say we can hide it behind basically political speech.
They were saying like immigration reform, affirmative action. They were saying whatever privilege or there's a political twist of saying things. It's just like it's just like a double speak kind of, not double speak, but like essentially, like you're saying one thing, but you mean another.
Yeah, the audience knows what you're actually saying there. But I just want to say Topher Grace again, and basically Ron prank calling him. I'm not a huge fan of prank calls generally because
This movie was the greatest Crank Yankers episode of all time.
Well, you can't even do crank calls anymore because everybody's got a cell phone, everybody's got caller ID, and if they're not going to answer it if they don't recognize it because they'll think it's a robocall. It
was the perfect punch up, though.
Yeah.
Actually, most of the dialogue in this movie was a punch up.
Yeah, it was. Another thing too. This will go into style as well, but the music was. that's dialogue in itself. Like saying, like when Patrice and Ron are like after Patrice drops off Kwame at the hotel, and they tell him to get out of town, and she gets assaulted. Like they go dance and everything's just like I think I'm falling in love, and just there's so many instances where there's double meaning. There's some things that are just right on the surface, like the lie detector scene. Also, just like the talking about the Holocaust, talking about like the Jew lie detector test and everything, and like there's subtleties between some of the things like. I
love a lot of Flip's dialogue because you can tell he's just taking the piss out of everybody he speaks to. Like if they knew the truth, they'd know that he was just making fun of them to their faces, and like tell you enjoyed just like pissing off Felix, especially with his fucking Jew lie detector, his Jew cage or cave or whatever.
Yeah.
But one of the things, I'm sorry, go ahead.
All
right, when he saw in the advertisement, he was looking at the paper and it said Ku Klux Klan, and obviously there was an ad. I don't know if it was him interpreting it or if it was literal, but I liked how the fact that when he called them up, and it wasn't the Klan, it was the what do they call it?
There's a chapter.
The
Organization.
It's so funny that even within themselves, there's this whole. I mean, this goes to part and parcel with dialogue, and one of the reasons that I personally can't stand the term alt-right, that I consider it like a political. I mean, it's just like I know you have to encompass these motherfucking assholes somehow, but to me, it seems to be like kind of a whitewash in the same way. It's just like, look, if you're so proud to be a fucking racist, then be a goddamn, let's call you the KKK and the Nazis.
Why are you so racist against white people?
White guilt? I don't know. See, I can go the other side there. See, I'm really trying to get on my soapbox, but just in terms of dialogue, the fact that they point out, I mean, because these motherfuckers wear these hoods, and they're like, oh, proud whites, but we got to hide in the hood. Okay, the KKK, but we got to call ourselves the organization. I mean, it's just all this obfuscation for people who say they're so proud to be who they are, but yet they don't have the courage to stand up for who they are. And fuck them. Go ahead.
Yeah, and I say a lot of there's a lot of instances in the movie as well that there's huge overlap of how they say like, no, I don't like them because so and so, but I do kind of like how they do this, and it's just a back and forth, and it just at some point you're just kind of exhausted, and you're thinking like, well, you guys are just talking bullshit, really, and like this is all bullshit.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, it's
David
all bullshit.
Duke came off as just the biggest bullshit artist still in the world.
Exactly. Yeah.
I felt I left
Tacky
this movie
suit.
feeling he didn't believe a goddamn thing that he
Right?
said.
Mm.
he seemed like
kinda
the
felt the
biggest
same
power
way.
too.
Even at the end of the movie when they showed that video, I didn't know he was still alive,
Oh yeah, unfortunately.
and I was like,
You have to say,
this is
Looks
just
good
fucking-
for his age.
Yeah.
All that hate has kept him young.
I'm 70 years old.
Well, the funny thing is, because he was talking about running for political office, and when I was in college, he was running for political office. I can't remember if he was running for governor or
I think he was running for governor.
was he running for governor? Yeah, and I'm sitting there at the time, and I'm like, "Are you fucking kidding me? This motherfucker is like, could really? Are you kidding me?" And then. Yeah, then the naivete of youth.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, we could do worse.
Oh, we could.
Editing and
So
engineering.
yeah, I
by
mean,
Christopher
dialogue
Morgan.
gets one for me because that was one of the things this is one of the strongest
Music by
parts of this
Christopher
movie.
Morgan.
I mean, this movie has a lot of strong, but this is one of those things that
Check us out on YouTube
it
and
was
iTunes
very,
for
very.
the shows.
And I love Alec Baldwin in the beginning.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
And on
hilarious.
And I
Facebook
like
and
how he
Twitter.
kept forgetting his
Rock
lines. He
Yeah,
kept
no.
frustrating himself, for forgetting it. And then, yeah, dialogue's getting one for me.
So one's
Yeah.
all around. And that brings us to me with style, which I feel is the number one strongest point of this movie. And I'm going to start off by talking about my favorite scene. Well, one of my two favorite scenes, the second being the graduation ceremony and the talk with Jerome Turner. And the first, number one is the Kwame Ture speech.
Yes.
And
Preach.
what won me over for this for this scene, besides Brother Torre's words, was what Spike did when he reached a point in his speech that clicked with the audience, and he had that black backdrop and like their faces be lit up by the light as they're like, basically just like almost like a come to Jesus moment.
Yeah.
Like, I love that. And to end on our protagonist, Ron, like, as he starts, like, really getting into the speech. And he has his own, like, solo, like, light drop moment.
Then he gets up, puts his hand up, right?
Yeah.
A little bit.
And just, like, little things like that. I mean, he's got his regular touches where I did notice that, 'cause a lot of times I didn't see there wasn't a lot of the look straight into the camera and monologue that like usually happens in his older films. Like he toned that down a lot.
Yeah, even when you did have monologues, it was just you did expect that to be.
Yeah.
Or he expected, like when he was doing in Malcolm X, where he would do like the pans and cuts,
Yep.
pans and cuts. He didn't really do that. He was very, but he shot them all differently too, because the way he shot Kwame and the way he shot, God damn it, Harry Belafonte's character,
Jerome
Turner, and even with David Duke, I mean, the way he didn't have that. I'm just expanding on what you said because he really, really did nuance a lot of this, and he didn't treat every monologue the same.
No, I totally agree because the Kwame is more like inspiring, like empowering, kind of. I don't want to say riling, but like it was as Rich was saying, is very. It's kind of like a what do you say, come to Jesus moment?
Yeah,
yeah. It's like you see, like they were disembodied almost. Like they didn't know they had a face, but they didn't know like what was exactly like. There was a reason there was no like there was body. They were just spirits kind of floating that not knowing where they were, and like this was an empowering moment. But when they did the scene with Jerome Washington, the Harry Belafonte's character, like it was just kind of focused on, like on occasion you'll pan to the students, but it was just kind of a camera just slowly coming in, and I didn't even realize it at first. Like I was just completely captivated by the story, how like he was just saying it and everything. And then I realized, like, no, the pictures that they're right behind them is literally like the lynching,
the aftermath,
the aftermath of the lynching, like everything that he's saying. There's a medium to what happened, and he says it like, and then they took pictures.
And what was great,
and that's like it's when your attention's finally drawn to him. Like you said, I didn't notice him before either.
Yeah. I was like, what are they? Well, I was like, what are they doing? And like, and of course, it's like it's almost like so zoomed in that you don't really know what it is. But then as soon as he says it, as soon as he starts describing it in detail and everything, you're like, no, I can make a person out of that. Like I can see there's a person there. I can see that there's charred body. I can see there's a lynch. I can see there's a rope. I can see all these kinds of things. And it was so powerful, like completely different from what it was before. And then you get the juxtaposition of the David Duke thing, where like they're saying like, oh yeah, blacks, minorities, Native American, like anybody that's not white are animals, but they're literally throwing fucking popcorn at a screen. They're seeing actors painted in black, like white actors painted in blackface, literally yelling at their own people, and like angry at them because
and ironically acting how blacks are stereotypically portrayed in movie theaters.
I totally did not think of that.
Holy shit!
Okay, totally
wow, yeah.
Brilliant.
That was phenomenal.
Damn. So no, but I mean, besides that, like. Everything was beautifully shot. Like the scene, one of the, it's crazy to say one of my favorite scenes, but one of the scenes that really like resonated with me also is when they were shooting the guns in the field. And you have no idea what they're shooting at, and then Ron comes up, and then he's like, you can see he's just devastated. Like,
what a great
one of those things,
reveal.
like, and he just taps the thing that like the silhouettes of just like black children that they've been shooting at.
What a great reveal that was.
And he's just like, no, like,
apparently,
I don't know why the hell. Can we erase when I said he had no agency? I forgot.
We'll fix it in post.
We'll fix it in post.
Now it's all going in there.
But like that, yeah, like the cinematography was phenomenal. Like the tracking, like the dolly scene at the end, where like you like the knock on the door. You think everything's like totally fine, like, everything's coming up, Ron. And like Ron and Patrice are like finally together and like both together.
Well, no, she's
about to leave. She's about to leave, and then you hear the knock on the door. Like, no, like guess what? You can leave, but guess what's out the door? Guess what's out in
that was just like, everywhere. It was like that was unsettling with the whole like them kneeling down and then like the whole reverence for the burning cross. Like that, I think this is the first time I've seen
that was
done that way.
Yeah,
in a film.
Yeah,
like usually they're all like standing around and like cheering and whatnot.
Like with horses and shit, just like riding around. Like,
but this one they're like, it's quiet. There's no sound. They're just like get down on their knees and then toss their torches in and goes right into Charlottesville.
Goes right into Charlottesville.
Well, I want to say about the Jerome Turner thing is they had the pictures of everything, even the horrifying pictures. But they didn't exploit those. They let Harry Belafonte say them while they were in the background. Like he didn't, like that would have been Harry Belafonte telling that was much more effective than actually seeing the pictures. Yeah. But then when he's talked about the crowd, they showed the crowds close up, And I thought that was really a great way not to be exploitative in one way.
Like I said, young Spike probably would have focused
Yeah.
too much on the pictures.
I think he would he would literally put one frame of picture each time he said something or just make it, I don't know, for dramatic or shocking impact. But no, doing that actually was more unsettling to me. And actually, it was.
I'm sorry. Go on.
No. You finish.
Oh, because I wanted to get back to something you said about the music, and aside from the soundtrack, the score. Because the score really affected me. That reveal when they're shooting at the black children. That the music they had, whoever did the score for this film was just phenomenal. It was very understated, but it was so fucking effective when it needed to be effective. So. That's my 2 cents.
All right.
Ian?
Oh, we got to wrap it up.
Yeah.
Oh, we have to wrap it up. Okay.
So it's one's all around?
One's all around.
Yep.
All right. So it brings us to recommendation.
It's with me, and yes, go out and see this movie.
It's a quick thing to say. Yes, I recommend it because it teaches you that, Donald Trump says, "Make America Great Again." A lot of liberals nowadays talk about how we lost our country when Donald Trump became president. The thing is, we're just a violent, mean people who hate the others, everybody else.
It's just the blanket switches, it's a blanket that's tossed over whatever group pisses us off or frightens us at the moment.
And I think I don't know if this was his intent going in, but the last scene shows that it doesn't change. It's been this way forever, and it will be this way forever. We're going to hear the same arguments 50 years from now, or Matt, remember the great days of Donald Trump?
God.
Said no one ever.
Now I'm depressed.
Well, I would have said that about George W. Bush.
Yeah.
How we reflect fondly upon those days when killing Muslims, was the right thing to do as opposed to what we hate now.
Yeah, I mean, I totally recommend this movie. Even if you don't like Spike Lee or his philosophies, his opinions. I don't even know if I have any criticism of any of that, but this is a movie that you need to see. It's just not only culturally relevant, it's just relevant to the human condition.
Exactly.
You can put yourself in either side because guess what? Everybody's hated everybody at some point in history. It's all about looking back, and it's not about looking back, it's about looking forward.
Trying to change things. And I definitely recommend this. I can't recommend it enough. And I want to say that if anybody, for any reason, is thinking of not seeing this because of either they didn't like the trailer or they think this movie is going to be too avaricious, I guess, in its intent. No, it's very nuanced. You're not gonna. Well, you might walk out hating yourself, I guess. There's some white people might walk out hating themselves, but at the same time, there's hope in there. Not everybody, all the whites aren't portrayed as evil. All blacks aren't portrayed as saints. It's just the shades of gray across the board. And I think it's the movie that we needed right now, definitely.
Yeah.
I agree.
So that's Aggregate Store is 10 pretty much, right?
10.
Yeah.
Now, let me bring out the calculator and check. But
I think this has a good shot of a nom for Best Picture, if not the Best Picture win. I think it could make it there. And yeah,
I agree.
I think it's at least in this day and age, 10. Maybe it'll lose that luster years from now, but right now it's the perfect movie for 2018.
Fully agree. All right, so let's wrap this up. It's been a pleasure reviewing this movie. My name is Rich Perry, joined by Luis Duran.
All power to all the people.
Jonathan Eamanzer.
Should all just hate on Eskimos and unite behind that.
Chris Morgan.
Peace and long life. Live long and prosper, and be excellent to one another.
Yes, and as always, just don't be dicks. Just have love and respect for everyone. Have a good night.
Editing and engineering by Christopher Morgan. Music by Christopher Morgan. Check us out on YouTube and iTunes for the shows, and on Facebook and Twitter for updates. Or mods?